But let's get back to the genesis of Funky Nassau. We have to go back again to 1969. 69, you and your two brothers, Roy
Bud.
and Bud, and Fred Henfield, did something that was unheard of. Meanwhile, you were taking a year off from running the club to playing with Kenny and the Beach Boys.
That's right.
And then you decided you didn't want that. You were looking for something else. You got them together. How did you convince these senior men to you, albeit your brothers and a friend, to give up everything, to go in a place that had the lion's den, close the doors, and practice, experiment, and create for 6 months? And at the end of that 6 months, the animal Funky Nassau was born.
Well, Charles, I think we were, the names you mentioned before, my brothers and Fred and myself, we were all tired of just working the regular hotel jobs. You know, when people would always compliment you that you were good and had talent and all these things. So we said, let's stop and try to create something that's new, different, that's ours, that's Bahamian, that would live forever. And so, like you said, when we were not working at the time, everybody just stopped what they were doing, and we moved into the Caterpillar. That was home. I mean, we had a couple of cots or whatever. Each one would pick their corner. That's your spot over there. That's your spot over there. And this your spot over here. And we would just, like I say, we lived in there, you know. You had to go outside with the hose. It's time to shower with the hose. I didn't mind that because...
Corned beef?
Yeah, corned beef and spaniata. Yeah, that was our diet of every day. And so we, like I said, we spent months in there working on this song called Funky Nassau. So
the only thing that interrupted that, and I think it's a good time to mention it, is that in July of 1970, a Bahamian artist was unleashed on the world. His name was Exuma the Obeah Man.
Exactly right.
Your cousin was his manager. They booked the Cat and Fiddle Club.
Right.
I've never seen that club filled up with more Bahamians because suddenly everybody got to know the name Tony McKay. The Obeah Man, and that was one great concert.
Well, Tony was a big inspiration on my life, and personally. He, like I said, came with such a brand new and fresh idea of music. Introducing Jonkunu music or fusing the Jonkunu with regular. He was a rhythm and blues singer before when he first started in New York. But he came with the concept of fusing this Jonkunu music with the rhythm and blues and rock and roll. And he had this band of gypsies with him, about maybe 8 or 10, well, white and black performers. And the sound that they brought, like I say, to the Cat and Fiddle that summer was so, of course, we were already living inside the Lion's Den, so we would invite him into the den. You had to be invited in. You couldn't just come in because the club was officially closed.
That's
that
right.
was home for us.
Yeah.
We would invite him in, or after his regular show, he would come in there and we'd spend time and we'd go fishing on the rock with him and spend a lot of time. And his concept, but I say, now we need something like this in our music, to say we need to incorporate Jonkunu, Latin, some calypso, some jazz, because as you know, Roy and Fred especially were all great jazz musicians at the time. I mean, fabulous. And Bud, of course, was a very good drummer and jazz player, but he was more of a crooner himself. So, but like I say, I was really the oddball out because I was almost strictly in the R&B and whatnot. I had not even calypso. And one time I had a little argument with one of the local musicians. I said, down with Marianne, we gotta introduce a brand new music to the world, and then we're gonna create something new. So Tony offered that opportunity for me to crystallize what can happen.
What you liked best about him was that he was Bahamian, obviously, but you liked the persona, the way he dressed and the way he carried himself. You also liked the fact that his music was being heard in the world.
All around. He came here from New York. I think at the time he was already on Buddha Records.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And his music was distributed worldwide. So I said, we could do that too, you know, and I said we could do it, and we did. I mean, we locked in and came with this one, because we only with one song. We only had one song, Funky Nassau.
You spent 6 months creating that one song. You guys were locked down. Where did your cousin, Tyrone, Dr. or Fitzgerald, come in?
Well, Tyrone, as you know, my first cousin. Well, we used to call him Rooney at the time.
Yeah.
I still call him Rooney even after his passing. We were always, and like I said, because we were always very close as cousins. Originally, I met him. I was officially born through Balls Alley up east. Then I moved to McCullough Corner. So I didn't really meet him until I moved in the valley around and we became real good friends around. Actually moved through somewhere off Mount Royal Avenue until it was we were like preteens, like about 11, 12. Mm-hmm. And of course we'd spend all the times at the Cat and Fiddle together watching all the shows. We'd spend all the time at Garfunkel. I have some photos that and Garfunkel, and the other one was the where Winston Saunders have those shows.
Oh yeah.
Well, anyway, they would have shows on weekends that we'd go and do our shows there. Yeah. He was a singer, but always very shy. You know, you don't want to come out in front. And I kept telling him, I said, look, man, you know, you're part of the group, you're part of Vibrations, you got to come out and you got to do some lead vocals sometimes. But he was always very shy, laid back like that. So he would come along. Of course, he would be allowed in the Lion's Den when it was closed. And he was working at Bahamas Air at the time. And I told him, I said, I got this song that I want to put together called Funky Nassau. And we started to play and sing and whatnot. And so he had just come back from London because he was, like I said, with Bahamas Air, they could fly for at low, reduced rates. Yeah. And so actually that was one of the key lines that they put in London, because we're in London gold now. London town is too doggone cold.
Yeah, Nassau's gone.
That's right. And of course,
London is too doggone cold.
Too doggone cold. And that, of course, that was a double meaning, you know, but that's another story. And we came up with this song and the lyrics of Funky Nassau. The band, we tightened it up, and now it was time to record. We had the money.
Yeah, you needed money to record. Then you went to another segment of the family, Uncle Percy.
That's right. Well, of course, we knocked on his door and beat on his door and pleaded with him so much. I think just to get rid of us, he said, okay, he'll loan us the money, which he did, because he'd be down in the hole in his boots with the water knee-high, and he'd say, would you all come aboard? I say, would you promise you can lend us the money to go to Miami and record? $2,000, that's all it took. And that $2,000 bought 8 round-trip tickets, paid for the studio time, and 5,000 copies. And we brought the record back to Nassau, and on the other side we had a song called Gee Whiz It's Christmas.
Yeah, because it was December.
It was 1970. December. Yeah. So, but everyone thought Gee Whiz It's Christmas was such a big hit, and they were complimenting me. Said, but no, that's the B-side. In January, when we turned the record over, you will hear what the real side is, Funky Nassau. So that's what we did, and the rest is history. Meaning because when people heard it, they just went, locally they went, well.
Oh yeah, but Jeff Scabella was the first one to introduce it here.
That's right.
And it took off in Nassau, and it took the Nassau crowd in Miami to catch up on this. But it was a Bahamian disc jockey in the United States, a fellow by the name of Fred Hanna.
Fred Hanna, that's right.
Who takes the story further?
Well, Fred Hanna was the program director at WMBM, which was the biggest black radio station, AM radio station in Miami at the time. And Fred Hanna, being a Bahamian, his hangout was the Elks Lodge on 7th Avenue in Miami, in the Overtown area in Miami. And he said one evening he went to the club and he heard this song on the jukebox playing, and he said, now, if I'm the program director at MBM, how could this record get past me? I mean, I'm supposed to hear everything that comes into the Miami area, to Florida. Of course, he at the time worked for a distributor called Tone distributors. Henry Stone was the owner then. He said he's supposed to know every song that comes out of, that's a hit. And so he went over to the jukebox and looked at the record, and he saw Munnings. He don't even know Munnings in Miami. I mean, not doing music that he would know about as well. So he said he pleaded with the person at the Elks to please loan him this record. He'd like to take it to the radio station and play it the next day, and let people try to guess, who were the artists on that song. And he played it the first day. He said the phones burned up. They couldn't. No one, of course, knew who it was. And so after a couple of days of doing that, Roy and I, we were driving around Nassau, and Fred Hanna said, well, Munnings brothers, if you listen out there, you better get over here to Miami quick, because you got a hit record on your hands.
Yeah.
So we were driving Wendy car at the time. So I went to the airport and parked the car and tell Wendy, call and tell her she better come pick up her car at the airport, because we got. And, we went over there to see Fred Hanna.
Yeah.
And he introduced us to Henry Stone. And Henry Stone liked what he heard first time out. And he said, okay, well, we're going to try to do some contractual arrangement and see if we can get this record onto Atlantic, or distributed by Atlantic, because actually his label was Alston.
Yeah.
Alston Records. And at the time, Henry was, Betty Wright was his artist already, there with him, Clarence Reed. You had, Casey was just really working in the warehouse at the time.
This is Casey of Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Right, but like I said, he was just, hanging around. And but he loved and was interested in music and creating and doing. He and Rick Finch, who was, they were a tag team in all their writings and productions of their music. And Henry put a song out, and in 3 months, it sold in excess of 1 million copies of just a single at the time. And he said he never saw anything like it, because no one knew who the artists were. We didn't have any PR or just every city or state that the record went to, it just went from joining the charts to number one on their chart.
It became number one so many places, and it really truly became a worldwide phenomenon. But let's stick a pin. We mentioned Casey and the Sunshine Band.